You can now buy a brand new, fully electric Toyota SUV with over 300 miles of range for less than the average used car price in America, less than $35,000, for a car that charges fully in under 30 minutes. This is the moment the EV market finally became accessible to regular people, and Toyota just proved every other automaker was overpricing their entire lineup. For years, we heard the same excuse from traditional automakers. Electric vehicles were expensive because the technology was new, because battery production was costly, because building an entirely new manufacturing infrastructure required massive investment. But when you really examine what Toyota just did in early 2026, you realize those were never legitimate reasons. They were just convenient excuses to charge premium prices while the market was still figuring out what electric cars should cost. The automotive industry has been operating under a massive misconception about EV pricing for nearly a decade. When Tesla first launched the Model S back in 2012, it cost over $80,000. That was revolutionary for an electric vehicle at the time, but it established a dangerous precedent. Premium pricing became synonymous with electric vehicles. Luxury became the default expectation. Every automaker that followed assumed they needed to charge top dollar to make their EV divisions profitable. They looked at Tesla's success and decided that wealthy early adopters would subsidize the development of more affordable models down the line. What Toyota just realized, and what they're now proving with actual vehicles and showrooms, is that this strategy was fundamentally flawed. The market was never demanding premium pricing. Consumers were demanding accessibility. People didn't want to wait another 5 years for prices to gradually drop through the power of scale and iteration. They wanted affordable electric vehicles now. They wanted options that made sense for their budgets, not their aspirations. Enter the 2026 Toyota BZ. When this vehicle was first announced as an update to the struggling BZ4X, nobody was particularly excited. The original BZ4X had been a disappointment. It launched with limited range, slow charging speeds, and a price tag that didn't justify its shortcomings. Dealers couldn't move them. Toyota was offering incredible lease deals just to get the vehicles off their lots. 3 years of free charging in New York City. Lease specials under $300 a month. These were the actions of an automaker in trouble with a product that customers didn't want at the asking price. But something important happened between the original launch and the 2026 refresh. Toyota listened to feedback. They understood that winter driving performance was suffering, battery management needed improvement, the charging infrastructure was evolving. And most importantly, they realized that their pricing strategy was completely wrong. The BZ4X could never succeed at its original price point because it wasn't compelling enough compared to established competitors like the Chevrolet Equinox EV and the Hyundai Ioniq 5. So Toyota made a radical decision. Instead of trying to maintain margins on an unpopular vehicle, they dropped the price. They dropped it significantly. The 2026 BZ now starts at just $34,900. For a front-wheel drive model with a smaller battery, you're getting 236 miles of range. Upgrade to the longer range version with the larger 74.7 kilowatt-hour battery, and you're looking at 314 miles of range on a single charge. That's not just competitive, that's genuinely impressive for the price point. But here's where it gets really interesting. The 2026 BZ comes with Toyota's commitment to real improvements across the board. The charging situation that plagued early buyers has been addressed. New DC fast charging capabilities can replenish the battery from 10% to 80% in approximately 30 minutes. That's genuinely practical for road trips and daily use, and every single model comes standard with the ACS charging port, which means you can use Tesla's supercharger network without needing an adapter. Toyota didn't just lower the price, they actually improved the vehicle while doing it. The interior technology has been modernized. The exterior design now carries Toyota's distinctive hammerhead front-end styling that makes it look like a vehicle built for 2026 instead of 2023. The overall driving experience has been refined based on years of real-world feedback from owners who were willing to tolerate the shortcomings because they believed in the direction the company was heading. These faithful early adopters essentially beta-tested the platform, and Toyota repaid that loyalty by making a genuinely excellent vehicle that's now affordable to everyone. When you look at what Toyota is offering at $34,900, you have to understand what the alternative options cost just a few years ago. The Model 3 long range from Tesla starts at around $44,200. Hyundai's Ioniq 5 begins at around $41,000 for a base model. The Chevrolet Equinox EV offers better pricing at $35,995, but the Toyota BZ is actually cheaper. You're looking at a price difference of $5,000 or more compared to comparable vehicles that were available just 18 months ago. And it's not like Toyota compromised on the essentials to hit that price. The vehicle comes with all the modern amenities consumers expect in 2026, an 8-inch touchscreen with wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, driver assistant safety features, climate control, comfortable seating, the build quality that Toyota is famous for, which actually justifies the price in ways that more expensive competitors sometimes fail to deliver. This is a vehicle that was engineered to last, to be reliable, and to provide years of ownership satisfaction. It's not a budget vehicle that feels cheap. It's an intelligently priced vehicle that represents genuine value. What makes this even more remarkable is understanding what Toyota had to overcome to get here. Toyota has never been a company that competes on price alone. Their entire brand identity is built on reliability, longevity, and customer satisfaction. For decades, they've commanded premium pricing because customers believed that Toyota vehicles would outlast competitors and require fewer repairs over their lifetime. That's not marketing. That's the result of systematic engineering excellence across their entire product line. But the EV market operates differently than the traditional automotive market. Customers were willing to take risks on unproven technology from Tesla because it was novel and exciting. The early Model 3 buyers weren't primarily motivated by reliability. They wanted to be part of the electric revolution. They wanted the coolest car on the block. They wanted cutting-edge technology, even if it came with uncertainty about long-term battery degradation and service network availability. That's a very different buyer than the person who chooses a Toyota RAV4, because they know it will run for 200,000 miles with minimal issues. What Toyota understood is that the market has matured past that phase. People still care about electric vehicles, but they're now asking practical questions. How much does it cost? How far does it go? How fast does it charge? How reliable is the manufacturer? For Toyota, that last question is a massive competitive advantage. Consumers know what Toyota's track record is. They know that if something breaks, there will be service centers available. They know that the vehicle won't randomly have mysterious software glitches that require a firmware update from the company's servers to fix. By pricing the BZ at $34,900, Toyota essentially said something radical to the market. We believe electric vehicles should be accessible to normal people, not wealthy early adopters, not tech enthusiasts, not people who can afford to treat their car as an experiment, normal everyday people who need reliable transportation and deserve to participate in the electric revolution. That's a philosophy that resonates in 2026 in ways it simply couldn't have in 2020 or 2021. Consider what this price point means for different buyer segments. A teacher making $55,000 a year can now afford a brand new electric Toyota SUV. A nurse, a construction supervisor, a small business owner, a young family saving for their first new car, these are all people who were completely priced out of the EV market just 3 years ago. Their only options were used vehicles, which eliminated warranty coverage and long-term reliability assurance, or sticking with hybrid or internal combustion engine vehicles, because the price of entry for a new EV was simply unrealistic. The financing situation makes this even more accessible. Toyota is offering 0% financing for up to 72 months on some models. That means the monthly payment on a $34,900 vehicle could come in under $500 a month. For comparison, the average new car payment in America in 2026 is hovering around $550 a month. You could actually finance a brand new, fully electric Toyota SUV for less than what you'd pay for an average new gasoline-powered vehicle. That's not just a price reduction. That's a complete paradigm shift in affordability. The real genius of Toyota's strategy becomes even more apparent when you look at what they're not doing. They're not trying to cut corners to hit this price. They're not using cheaper materials or skipping features to get the MSRP down. Instead, they've engineered the vehicle from the ground up to be efficient in ways that traditional manufacturers have never bothered to pursue. When you're designing a vehicle with battery costs representing up to 40% of the total price, you become intensely motivated to optimize every other aspect of the vehicle to reduce weight, improve aerodynamics, and maximize the efficiency of every component. The BZ's platform was co-developed with Subaru, which gave Toyota access to different engineering perspectives and allowed them to spread development costs across two manufacturers. This is smart business that actually benefits consumers. You get a Toyota or Subaru badge on essentially the same vehicle, built with the same quality standards at the same price point. The variety allows different buyers to choose the brand that resonates with them while enjoying the benefits of platform sharing that makes the engineering more efficient and the vehicles more affordable. This efficiency in development and manufacturing is something the traditional automotive industry had actually lost over the decades. When you're competing on luxury and prestige, you don't necessarily optimize for affordability. You optimize for margins. You add features that increase the price more than they increase the cost. You use branding and marketing to justify premium pricing. But when you're genuinely committed to affordability, you have to think differently. Every dollar spent on the vehicle has to deliver value. Every feature has to justify its existence. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room that nobody in the EV industry wants to discuss directly. For the past 5 years, every major automaker has claimed that they couldn't build affordable electric vehicles because of battery costs. This was technically true. Battery technology was expensive. Manufacturing capacity was limited. The cost per kilowatt hour of battery capacity was dramatically higher than it is today. But here's the uncomfortable truth that Toyota's pricing just exposed. Many automakers didn't actually try very hard to build affordable vehicles because there was no incentive to do so. As long as customers were willing to pay premium prices for any electric vehicle, why compress your margins? Tesla kind of forced everyone's hand by proving that you could actually scale manufacturing and bring costs down through volume and continuous improvement. The Model 3 went through multiple generations of price reductions as Tesla perfected production processes and sourced batteries more efficiently. But most traditional automakers looked at that trajectory and decided it was too risky to match Tesla's aggressive pricing. What if the market crashed? What if battery costs didn't fall as fast as projected? What if they'd lowered prices only to discover they couldn't maintain profitability? It was easier to charge premium prices and let the market gradually become more price sensitive over time. Toyota's willingness to price the BZ at $34,900 is essentially saying that they've done the math and they're confident in the business model. They know what their manufacturing costs are. They know what their battery sourcing agreements are locked in at. They know their volume projections. And they've determined that they can be profitable at this price point while still delivering a quality product that will protect their brand reputation. That's a significant competitive commitment that other automakers are now forced to respond to. Chevrolet's Equinox EV at around $36,000 suddenly looks less attractive when the Toyota BZ comes in at $2,000 less, with similar range and better brand reliability reputation. Hyundai's entire value proposition is disrupted because they've been positioning themselves as the affordable alternative, but their prices aren't actually that much lower than what Toyota is now offering. And they don't have the same brand heritage to back up the promise of reliability and longevity. The ripple effects of this pricing are already being felt throughout the industry. Nissan recently announced that their next generation Leaf will be arriving with new pricing that's even more aggressive than their current offerings. Volkswagen is scrambling to decide whether their ID Buzz strategy of premium pricing makes sense when Toyota is proving that volume and accessibility might actually be more profitable in the long term. Even Tesla is starting to feel pressure to reconsider their pricing strategy as they realize that luxury positioning might actually limit their total addressable market. What's particularly interesting is that Toyota didn't just focus on the BZ. They're also bringing the new CHR electric SUV to the market in early 2026. The CHR is smaller than the BZ, which gave Toyota an opportunity to create an entry-level model that would undercut the BZ's price. The original plan, according to analysts and industry watchers, was for the CHR to start around $30,000, finally giving consumers a true budget electric SUV option. That would have been genuinely revolutionary for the market. The actual CHR pricing came in at $37,000, which is higher than the BZ at $34,900. At first glance, this seems like a mistake. Why would your smaller model cost more than your larger model? The answer is in the specifications. The CHR comes standard with all-wheel drive and a larger 74.7 kilowatt-hour battery, whereas the BZ is available in front-wheel drive configuration with a smaller 57.7 kilowatt-hour battery at the base price. If you wanted to compare the same specifications, a two-wheel drive BZ with the larger battery would cost you significantly more. But Toyota did offer a strategic move that makes the CHR more appealing than the published price suggests. Various regions and dealer incentive programs have made the CHR available with $5,000 cash discounts, bringing the effective price down to $32,450. That's actually undercutting the BZ and offering all-wheel drive performance with 338 combined horsepower. With that discount applied, the CHR becomes an incredibly compelling sports-oriented electric SUV that can accelerate from 0 to 60 miles per hour in just 4.9 seconds. Suddenly, you're not just getting affordability, you're getting performance that rivals vehicles costing $10,000 more. The importance of Toyota's strategy here cannot be overstated. They're not just introducing one affordable electric vehicle, they're introducing multiple options across different price points and vehicle styles. You can get the BZ at $34,900 if you want practical front-wheel drive efficiency. You can get the BZ with all-wheel drive for about $40,000 if you want better winter performance. You can get the CHR for $37,000 if you want a sportier, more aggressive styling with standard all-wheel drive performance. And Toyota is also bringing a larger BZ Woodland model later in 2026 for customers who want 3-row seating or more cargo space. This variety is crucial because it demonstrates that Toyota isn't taking a one-size-fits-all approach to electric vehicles. Different customers have different needs and preferences. Some want the most affordable option. Some prioritize performance. Some need more space. By offering this range of vehicles at accessible price points, Toyota is covering the entire spectrum of consumer demand. That's a strategy that can genuinely transform how people think about electric vehicles. The charging situation, which was a genuine weakness for early EV adopters, has also been addressed comprehensively. The shift to an ACS as the standard port means that every Toyota EV now comes with native access to Tesla's supercharger network. This is enormous for practical range anxiety. There are now thousands of supercharger locations across North America, and Toyota customers can use them without adapters or workarounds. If you're taking a family road trip in your new $35,000 Toyota BZ, you can stop at a supercharger, grab a coffee, and be back on the road with sufficient range to reach your destination in 30 minutes. The 2026 market for electric vehicles is fundamentally different from what it was even 2 years ago. The infrastructure is better, the technology is more proven, the battery supply chain is more stable, and crucially, customers have had time to form expectations about what electric vehicles should deliver. They know now that you don't need a 600-mile range for daily driving. They understand that charging at home overnight is more convenient than constantly stopping at gas stations. They're aware that operating costs are significantly lower because electricity is cheaper than gasoline and maintenance is minimal. But they were still waiting for the price to drop to a level that made sense for their budgets. Toyota just made that price drop real. Not theoretical, not promised for 5 years from now. Real vehicles in dealerships today at prices that make sense for regular people. That's genuinely transformational, and it's forcing a reckoning throughout the entire automotive industry about what electric vehicles should actually cost. Looking at the broader implications, this pricing strategy represents a fundamental shift in how Toyota thinks about competition in the 21st century. For decades, Toyota's playbook was to enter markets late with reliable, well-engineered products that built market share through reputation and word of mouth. They weren't first with most technologies, but they were better at implementation and reliability. That approach worked brilliantly for the hybrid market. And while other companies were experimenting with complex hybrid systems, Toyota perfected the technology and dominated the segment for nearly 2 decades. But the electric vehicle market is different. It's moving faster. The window to establish brand credibility in electric vehicles is much smaller than it was for hybrids. If Toyota had waited another 2 years, if they'd maintained higher prices while gradually decreasing them, the market would have already formed opinions about which manufacturers make the best electric vehicles. Different brands would have established themselves in customers' minds. Reputation in the EV market would be harder to build from scratch. This is playing the long game in a way that most competitors aren't willing to. It requires confidence in Toyota's engineering and manufacturing capabilities. It requires belief that the electric vehicle market will continue to grow substantially. And it requires accepting that the company's profit per vehicle in the EV segment will be lower than it has been in traditional gasoline-powered vehicle segments. But those sacrifices make sense strategically if Toyota can capture market share and mind share before more competitors aggressively slash prices. The average consumer buying a vehicle in 2026 isn't thinking about any of this strategy. They're thinking about practical concerns. They see that a brand new Toyota electric SUV costs less than the average used car price in America. They know that Toyota makes reliable vehicles. They understand that electric vehicles have lower operating costs. They realize that they could finance this vehicle for less than they'd pay for a comparable new gasoline-powered vehicle. And suddenly, the electric vehicle that seemed like a luxury purchase for the wealthy becomes an obvious choice for a regular person who needs new transportation. That's the revolution that Toyota just created, not through marketing hype or technological breakthrough, but through straightforward business decision-making and honest pricing. They looked at what the market needed and what they could deliver, and they found that price point where those two things intersected. They committed to delivering a quality product at that price point, and they're now proving that you can build a profitable, sustainable business around affordable electric vehicles. This moment in the automotive industry will be remembered as a turning point, not because of the technology, which is solid but not groundbreaking, not because of the design, which is attractive but not revolutionary, but because Toyota proved that electric vehicles don't have to be expensive luxury goods. They can be practical, affordable transportation for regular people. And the industry will never look at EV pricing the same way again. Every competitor will now be forced to match or beat Toyota's pricing if they want to compete for mainstream customers. The electric vehicle revolution that's been promised for the past decade is finally becoming real, not as a luxury option for the wealthy and the tech-obsessed, but as accessible transportation for everyone. Toyota's aggressive pricing on the 2026 BZ and CHR is the moment when electric vehicles stopped being aspirational and started being practical. That's genuinely significant, and it's something that will benefit consumers for decades to come. Understanding the psychology of pricing reveals why Toyota's strategy is so effective. When consumers see a brand new electric vehicle for $34,900, they can directly compare it to their current car payment and understand the real-world implications. This immediate accessibility transforms abstract promises about EV affordability into concrete purchasing decisions. Toyota also recognized the importance of scale and brand trust during this crucial market formation phase. Every electric vehicle sold today becomes a vote of confidence in that manufacturer's ability to support the technology long term. When you buy a Toyota BZ, you're not just buying a vehicle, you're endorsing Toyota as an EV. Manufacturer. These trust factors don't appear in price comparisons, but they matter enormously. A consumer might see a competing vehicle at $32,000 and still choose the BZ at $34,900 because they trust Toyota's ability to support the vehicle and maintain resale value better than an unfamiliar brand. The competitive implications are significant. Tesla built its brand on innovation and desirability, but at prices that exclude average consumers. Toyota is proving that revolutionary doesn't require expensive. Electric vehicles offer genuine advantages: efficiency, lower costs, better performance, that aren't restricted to $50,000 vehicles. These benefits apply equally at $35,000. Unlike traditional markets where luxury segments command premium pricing, electric vehicles operate differently. The core benefits are democratic rather than hierarchical. Toyota leverages this by building a customer base of electric vehicle owners who become brand advocates. They're establishing credibility in a technology segment where they were previously seen as late. They're accepting tighter margins on the BZ to gain long-term advantages and prepare for expanding their lineup with higher-priced vehicles later. This expansion is already happening with the BZ Woodland, which targets customers who want more space and luxury but aren't willing to pay Tesla Model X prices. It will likely continue with premium electric vehicles that Toyota will introduce in the coming years, but all of those future vehicles will benefit from the customer base and reputation established by these aggressive introductory offerings. The timing is strategically important. By 2026, the EV market has matured enough for comfort, moving from early adopters to price-sensitive mainstream consumers who want proof the technology works and manufacturers they trust. Toyota fills this need perfectly. Infrastructure has also evolved significantly. The NCS standard dominates fast charging. Tesla opened superchargers to other vehicles, and charging networks expanded dramatically. This removes the previous justification for expensive EVs based on infrastructure uncertainty. Now, $35,000 gets adequate range and charging for realistic scenarios. Manufacturing innovations in batteries have made this pricing possible. Battery manufacturing is more efficient, supply chains are stable, and supplier competition drives costs down. Toyota passes these efficiency benefits to consumers through lower prices without sacrificing profitability. This sustainable pricing model, competitors will struggle to match without major manufacturing investments. Future price reductions will come more slowly as technology matures and low-hanging fruit disappears. The 2026 pricing represents a sweet spot where recent cost reductions are passed to consumers before becoming meaningless for differentiation. Waiting another year or two probably won't yield dramatically lower prices, so now is the time to buy. Toyota vehicles hold resale value remarkably well, typically retaining 70 to 80% of purchase price after 5 years. For a $35,000 BZ that retains 75% value, the true cost is only $8,750 across 5 years. Add operational savings from not buying gasoline and minimal maintenance, and total ownership cost becomes remarkably competitive with gasoline vehicles. Federal and state tax credits further reduce effective purchase price. Customers can stack federal tax credits with state incentives and manufacturer promotions to bring effective price significantly below sticker. Some qualified buyers can purchase a BZ for under $30,000 after incentives. Toyota maximizes these government incentives to benefit consumers rather than capture them as profit, establishing themselves as consumer-focused rather than profit-maximizing. The moment we're living in right now is genuinely historic for the automotive industry. In the future, people will point to early 2026 as the time when electric vehicles became accessible to regular people. When the question stopped being whether electric vehicles were for you and started being which electric vehicle was right for you. Toyota didn't invent electric vehicles, didn't pioneer most of the technology, and didn't build the best performing or most advanced electric vehicles on the market. What they did was demonstrate that electric vehicles could be excellent, affordable, and available to everyone. That might be the most important contribution to the automotive industry in decades.